Okay, so you guys know how we just got the banner leaks for version 5.8? Well, get ready because we're about to dive even deeper into the absolute mystery that is the upcoming region, Nod Krai. While a lot of you are still trying to decide between pulling for Mavuika or Emily in Phase 2 of version 5.7, a surprisingly huge chunk of you are actually skipping this phase entirely. And why is that? Because you're already looking ahead, right? You're eyeing that horizon, thinking about what's next. And that, my friends, is exactly what we're going to explore in this video. We're talking about a full roadmap from 5.8 all the way to 6.3, based on what we know so far, what's been leaked, and what we can realistically expect. Out of Primogems? Don't worry, I've got a way to save money and get double the Genesis crystals. This is lootbar.gg. It works just like the in-game top-up system, but with up to 25% off, and new users even get a 10% extra discount using the link in the pinned comment. See this? The regular $100 pack only costs $85 on Lootbar, and each update they release an exclusive $77 bundle available for your first purchase every version. All you need is your UID, no password, no login. Just pick your bundle, select your server, enter your UID, and your crystals get delivered in seconds. Lootbar has awesome reviews. It's fast, secure, and trusted by tons of players. If you're planning to recharge for Genshin Impact, Star Rail, or Wuthering Waves, don't waste your money. Click the link in the description or pinned comment and top up now with Lootbar. Safe, fast, and way more affordable. Version 5.8 is bringing a ton to the table. According to HomDG Cat, who's been incredibly consistent with their leaks, we're finally getting the first reruns of Chaska, Molani, and Citlali. All three of them were introduced super early in the Natlan cycle, and now they're getting their first banners again before we even move on to a new region. That alone would make this patch exciting, but it doesn't stop there. We're also getting a brand new 5-star character named INEFFA. INEFFA is built around a completely new elemental reaction called Lunar Charged, which basically tweaks how Electro-Charged works. Instead of just dealing those basic AoE ticks like normal Electro-Charged, Lunar Charged damage doesn't have an innate area of effect, but it can critically hit, and its scaling is way more complex. It actually involves the elemental mastery and crit stats of both characters contributing to it. This means building for reactions becomes much more intentional, way more rewarding if you do it right, and, well, a lot more punishing if you don't. INEFFA herself is likely going to be a sub-DPS or an enabler for this reaction. So that's 5.8. What comes next? Version 6.0 is going to be the official start of the Nod Krai region. And based on current leaks and some clever patterns we've seen from previous patches, we already have a pretty solid idea of what's coming. The first half of 6.0 will feature a new male character, an electro-male main DPS who's probably designed to work alongside INEFFA. His kit is all about electro-charged damage output, and he represents one of the first full-scale attempts by ImpactVerse to create a meta-relevant electro-charged reaction-focused hypercarry. Then, the second half of version 6.0 will feature a new Geo female DPS character. Her design seems to focus on crystallized reactions, essentially filling a similar role to Nouvellette, but possibly with a bit of power creep. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Every major region release has historically started with an Archon rerun. Think about Raiden at the start of Natlan, for example. So, who could it be this time? Based on rerun gaps, the most likely candidate is Nahida. Her last rerun was a while ago, and Sumeru's Chronicled Wish is also rumored to return sometime early in the Nod Krai cycle. It would make perfect sense for Nahida to headline the start of 6.0 alongside these new characters. As for the fourth banner in that patch, Verisa is looking like a strong possibility. She's the next Natlan character who hasn't had her rerun by that time, and putting her in 6.0 would make sure that every 5-star character originally from Natlan gets a rerun before we completely say goodbye to that region. Moving on to version 6.1, the first half of this patch will introduce a new female Pyro 5-star character. She's already being referred to as the Pyro Escoffier, hinting at a sub-DPS or support role that functions similarly to Kazuha in freeze teams, but for Pyro reactions like Vaporize. This would be a huge deal because it could open up entirely new possibilities for Hydro-Pyro compositions. With that in mind, and the possibility of another Archon rerun here, it would also make sense to rerun Furina, as she would synergize perfectly with this new Pyro sub-DPS. Other rerun slots in this patch will likely go to more Natlan 5 stars. Then we arrive at version 6.2, and this is where things get spicy again. This patch will introduce another new 5-star, a Pyro male character who's described as a vaporized focused hyper carry. He's likely designed with the 6.1 Pyro support in mind, in the same way that Skirk and Escoffier are balanced to work together. And it's very possible that this duo will also include a team restriction mechanic, limiting ideal compositions to just Pyro and Hydro characters. HoYoverse has done this before, and maybe they want to continue this trend that Escoffier and Skirk started. But what about the Archon? Normally, the second, or considering Mavuika's debut, the third version of a major region would introduce the Archon character. However, according to every credible source, there's no indication that the Cryo Archon will be released during the 6.x patches. That's right. It looks like Nod Krai may not feature a playable Archon in its initial updates. Instead, version 6.2 will probably continue to build toward the narrative finale while strengthening core elemental reactions through synergistic units. And then we reach version 6.3. This is where COLUMBINA is expected to make her long-awaited debut as a 5-star Hydro DPS. If she turns out anything like her design and lore appearances suggest, she's going to be a top-tier character. Hydro is one of the strongest elements in the game due to its reaction potential, and giving COLUMBINA a powerful Hydro DPS kit could easily make her the meta-defining unit of the Nod Krai region. She could essentially replace the usual powerhouse of an Archon that normally comes with every major region. But one thing is clear, she is going to be insane. In the second half of 6.3, an Anemo female is expected. Her concept revolves around something called Swirl Bloom, which is fascinating because, as of now, Swirl and Bloom don't interact directly. This could represent a new gameplay layer that changes how we look at Anemo support or reaction chain setups. If she's done right, she could have game-changing utility. And here's how it might all come together. COLUMBINA, expected in the first half of version 6.3, is a Hydro DPS, meaning she would naturally pair well with any Bloom-based reaction setup. That instantly makes her synergize with Dendro units. And what better way to enable that than with a Nahida rerun in 6.0? Nahida hasn't had a rerun in a while, and if HoYoverse wants to make these new reaction-based characters pop off, giving us another chance to pull for the best Dendro unit in the game makes perfect sense. On top of that, there are growing signs that a Sumeru Chronicled Wish could be arriving early in the 6.x cycle. We're talking about banners stacked with returning Dendro units like Alhaitham, Tignari, and so on. If all these pieces line up, it suggests that not only will the Swirl Anemo character be heavily reaction-based, but she might also be released into a meta where Dendro is front and center again. So seriously, don't sleep on her. But what does all of this mean for you? Well, first off, we're finally getting more male 5-stars. It's only 2 between versions 6.0 and 6.3, but considering Natlan only gave us Kinich as a new male 5-star, that's already a step up. Second, if you're a meta-focused player, there are a lot of synergies to keep in mind. The Pyro-Hydro duo, lunar-charged setups, and possibly new Anemo innovations will shape the Spiral Abyss meta for months to come. And of course, with all these characters on the horizon, you'll need to plan your Primo Gems wisely. Skip banners if they don't align with your goals. Pay attention to synergies, and don't get baited by hype unless the unit truly fits your account needs. Before we wrap this up, if you enjoyed this deep dive, please make sure to subscribe. Let me know in the comments which banner you're most excited about and which of these characters you're planning to pull for. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.